Do the drugs keep you from working?
Yeah.
Like a regular
you're too busy
job?
wanting to get high, or you're too busy wanting to make sure you got your wake up, or your next.
Yeah.
It's,
Alright guys, so for today's video, we're going to be talking about homelessness. We're going to be talking about homelessness from my perspective, from the things that I've learned in my career as a police officer dealing with the homeless and the things that I've seen out there. The reason I'm making this video today, and I didn't screenshot any comments and put them up, but anytime I put out a video that involves homeless people or drug addicts out on the street or, this, that, and the other, I see a lot of comments from people saying things like, we're the richest nation on earth. We shouldn't have this problem. I also see comments saying, we're sending all this money overseas, blah, blah, blah. We should be using that money to solve the homeless crisis here in the United States. And I spent a lot of time actually responding to those particular comments, telling people, listen, the amount of money that we spend on the homeless problem is not the issue. And honestly, in my opinion, one of the reasons we have such a large homeless problem in the United States is actually because we spend so much money on it. The fact that we spend so much money on the homeless problem, providing food, clothing, and shelter for people that are actually homeless is actually one of the reasons we have so many people living in that state, because we've actually created an environment where it's relatively easy to be homeless. And we're also we aren't, but a lot of people are lying about what causes people to be homeless. For some reason, there's this narrative out there on the internet with people that don't interact with the real world, and it's probably the majority of people in our society that are saying things like, we have a homeless problem because housing is too expensive, or people are down on their luck, and this, that, and the other thing. Well, that is not the truth. The truth behind the reason we have so many homeless people in our country is drug addiction. And people need to realize that is the problem. The other thing is that you can't solve drug addiction by forcing things onto people. We actually have a lot of drug treatment facilities, a lot of drug treatment things available, but people are actually refusing to take advantage of that. And in order to prove my point on that, I have something special for you, because many of you know, many of you may not. Oops, I'm drawing this up. May not know that on my days off, I will frequently go down to the area where I work, and I'll walk around with my GoPro, and I'll talk to homeless people and try to get it on video. I've done this a couple of times before. It doesn't always work. I had a corrupt SD card one time, but I went out on December the 12th of 2023 and actually recorded the video that you're going to see after my introduction is done, and you can actually hear it from the mouth of a homeless person talking about drug addiction, the reasons that people avoid going to drug treatment, and also the reason that they are homeless and don't have jobs, and this, that, and the other thing. The major driver behind all of this is drug addiction. Now, there are always those people that are going to argue with me, all homeless people aren't drug addicts and yada, yada, yada. Well, I didn't say that all homeless people are drug addicts. I said the major driver behind the homeless problem in our country is drug addiction, meaning that if you took away the number of homeless people that are addicted to drugs, and that it's actually drugs that are keeping them in the system, you would have a very small number of homeless people. And those people, the ones that are left over that aren't there due to drug addiction, are the ones that we could actually help by providing them with apartments and all this other stuff. Unfortunately, the resources are all being sucked up by people who are addicted to drugs that aren't ready to take that step to get themselves clean, this, that, and the other thing. And you will see some examples of that in this video from this person here. The other thing that I want to discuss is something that I saw recently on a podcast. I believe it was with Joe Rogan, but I'm not quite sure. And it was a term that really struck a chord with me, and it's something that I have seen in real life, and that is the idea that we have a homeless industrial complex. A lot of people have heard about the military industrial complex. This is the idea that there's a lot of people that are getting rich off of the military, and they are driving conflict, and that their objective is not to end war, but to create a world where war is going on in perpetuity, that as long as war exists, they will continue to make money. There's a lot of people that are actually making money on quote unquote the homeless problem. But I don't think it's necessarily a diabolical thing. I just think that as we keep providing more and more funding for homeless outreach, this, that, and the other, more people are getting into the game. And as more people are getting into the game and more funding is created, the actual effect of this has been that homelessness has increased. And I typed in homeless industrial complex into Google. I got a whole bunch of articles. This is literally the first one that I clicked on, and just the first paragraph alone, I wanted to read this to you. It says, when people look at the web of nonprofit organizations and government agencies that are supposed to be providing homeless interventions, they see a failed system. Despite huge increases in funding, homelessness in Los Angeles continues to climb. As previously reported, this organization's budget has increased 13 times from fiscal year 2014 at $63 million to more than $800 million in 2022. During the same time, the homeless population rose from 40,000 to about 75,000 people. So they're providing money to try to end homelessness, and they started with $63 million. Now they're spending $800 million, and the problem with homeless people in their community has almost doubled. And let's see, there's some more stuff with the Department for Homeless Support Housing. In 2016, the spending has tripled to $668 million, while the number of homeless people has increased 16%, despite a recent decline. So that was this paragraph right here. If you go and you Google homeless industrial complex, this is the kind of stuff that you're going to find. Now, I can tell you definitively in the city of Columbus, that where I live and work, I can see this being borne out on a daily basis. I talked to this homeless person when I was off duty. There's also many times that you'll see me talking to homeless people on my body camera interactions, and I ask them all of these questions. If you were provided a house today, would you be able to keep it? If somebody were able to give you a job today, would you be able to keep it? The answer is almost always no. I ask them, why don't you want to get clean? Do you enjoy your life? No, they don't enjoy their life. Do they want to get clean? No, they don't. It's often driven by the fear of change, that these people, they started using a lot of drugs and stuff that driv them to become homeless. The woman that you're going to hear from today has been homeless for 6 years. She's been addicted to drugs for 13 years. She's got herself, as uncomfortable as this might make most people feel, she's gotten herself into a relatively comfortable position, and the thought of change is what scares her. I've also talked to a lot of homeless people that are living in camps like this. I put one out on the body camera channel with the woman who only has one leg and she's in a wheelchair. That video is probably a year and a half old, and I can tell you that she is still homeless, living out on the street. Some of the things that she told me is that she doesn't want the stress of having a home. She doesn't want to have to worry about paying her electric bill, paying her water bill, her utilities. All of these things, when you've been living in this lifestyle, are stressors, and they're a change, and there's something that these people don't want to deal with. And all of the money that we're dumping into the system, like in Los Angeles, $800 million, the money that we're dumping into the system is actually going into helping these people live homeless and relatively comfortable. Where I work, you can drive up and down the road, and you're going to find no less than 10 or 12 homeless outreach centers where they're providing meals daily, meals, tents, cooking items, toiletry, dog food, everything that you would need to be a homeless person to live in relative comfort. I talk to the people that run these facilities. I stopped in and I talked to one the other day. I don't want to name the facility or name the guy because I don't want to get him in any kind of trouble. He's a really good guy, and I know that he started doing what he's doing for good reason. But he was, he's getting very discouraged, and he's shaking his head when he's talking to me, just talking about how the number of people that have been coming to him for food and clothing and support for 2 to 3 years, some of them, and they never want to change. And the guy that runs this facility is a recovering addict himself. So he's been there. He can talk to these people. He can relate to them, but he's unable to get through to them because they're unwilling to make that change. And he's actually one of those people who is cutting back his hours, not due to lack of funding or anything like that, but because he said that he's helping create a world that makes it more comfortable for these people to remain in the condition that they're in. And in order for them to make that decision to go to the next step, their life has to be a little bit more difficult. He also is one of the people specifically that told me he will never have a public shower in any of his facilities because these people need to be dirty, grimy, and uncomfortable in order to drive them to that next step, to make that decision to get themselves clean, to get off the street. But I want to get out of the way here because I don't want this video to be too long, but I did talk to this woman. Her name is Sabrina. I was upfront and honest when I met her. I walked up to her and said, "Hey, this is what I'm doing. I like to talk to people, get their stories out there, and I'm going to put this out on YouTube." And she said, "Okay, I'll talk to you." So I appreciate her allowing me to literally just walk into her camp where she is and ask her all of these questions. She gave me what I'm quite certain were all honest answers. She said after I turned the camera off, she's happy to do this and she wants the message to get out to more people to maybe prevent people from getting into her position in the first place. Because really the way to solve the homeless problem is to prevent people from becoming homeless in the first place. And that's something that we really need to be honest about. And that's where I think that this solution is going to come. So my opinion in like 10 seconds is we need to prevent people from becoming homeless in the first place by preventing drug use and drug addiction. And then the people who are currently homeless, I honestly believe that the way to bring them in, convince them to change their lifestyle and go to rehab and get themselves clean, get off the streets and become a regular contributing member of society. I think that if we're going to do that, we have to be honest about what's causing this continued problem, and we need to actually decrease the funding that goes into this stuff. By increasing the funding, we're increasing the problem. That's my thought. Without further ado, I'll get out of the way and you can watch my interview with Sabrina. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you guys later.
How long have you guys lived back here?
A couple months.
Really? In this particular camp?
Yeah.
Did you guys have a camp somewhere else before this one?
Yeah, a couple other places.
What happened to those?
We usually have to move, they say, because we're not allowed on the bike trail, I guess.
Okay, is it the Rangers or is it the city or who comes out?
Both, pretty much.
Really? Has anyone come out to this one yet? No?
Not yet. They've, said something to us up there, but that's about it.
Yeah, just the Rangers and stuff have, or is the citizens?
The citizens, the Rangers.
Really? They harass you a lot?
Yeah, most of the time.
Okay.
They like to call the cops when we have bonfires.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to try to stay warm, but...
Has the police ever done anything?
No, they're not really that bad.
Yeah? You think the police kind of understand for the most part?
Some of them.
Yeah? Anyone ever come back here and give you a hard time, the cops?
Not here recently, no.
No. How long have you been homeless altogether?
About 6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
What, how did it happen?
I don't know, honestly.
Really?
I guess I don't know. Well, my mom ended up dying and I became homeless.
You were living with your mom and she died? Were you working or anything back then?
No.
What were you living on? Just like your mom's SSI or something? How old are you?
28.
28. So you've been doing this since you were like 22.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Not really.
I mean, you were just a kid, you know, and now you're grown.
Yeah.
It's a long time. I mean, you guys are really close to like Jordan's Crossing.
Yeah.
Do they help you out?
Yeah, they're a big part. They help us a lot.
Yeah, like
yeah, they have a lot of good resources and
getting you food and tents and
yeah,
stoves and stuff like that.
blankets, dog food.
Yeah.
Everything.
Do they ever do they have links to shelters or?
Actually, we're working with this lady through Mount Carmel through Jordan Crossing. She's trying to help us get housing right now.
How long have you been working on that process?
About 6 months.
Really? Does it always take that long?
I guess, well, it's taken longer. I've been waiting on the waiting list for 4 years for Section 8.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't heard anything yet. But they said it could take up to like a year trying to find a place and then get into it.
So they helped you get your like IDs and birth certificates and all that stuff. So you have all that already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So your mom passed away. Was she renting her house or did she own the house?
She was renting it.
She was renting it. So then there was just no one to pay the rent. So you guys had to go. Now I know that it's pretty rampant here in Columbus, but I mean, how much do you think drug use plays a factor?
Probably a big part.
A big part? Like, how long have you been using drugs? Like hard drugs?
For a while. Probably since I was like 15.
Really? What'd you start on?
Like pills and shit.
Like oxys and Xannies and
30s and...
Jeez. And have the pills pretty much gone away?
I think so. I think so. I mean, you still hear some like people, you know what I mean, say they use them or whatever, but I ain't even seen one in a long time, so.
Yeah. You think people just say that they're hooked on pills because they don't want to admit that they're using Fetty?
Yeah, I'm sure people do.
Yeah.
It's not just something you want to come out and tell somebody, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming you want to try to hide that as long as possible.
Right.
Because there's a little bit of embarrassment, I guess. But, I mean, there's no reason to be embarrassed. Everybody's doing it. You know what I mean? And it's something that has taken control of a lot of people on our society. And so you guys how many people live in this camp?
There's like 3 of us over here, and then I think there's 3 of them over there.
Like the one across the hill?
Yeah.
So is that a person that's by themselves, or is that just a bunch of stuff?
No, that's a person by himself.
Oh, so you two stay here and he stays there? Mm-hmm. Okay. Is everyone on Fetty?
I mean, everybody's on some type of drug, I guess.
Yeah. Do you think that's what keeps people...
That plays a big part in people's homelessness.
Do you think it keeps you from going to, like, other sources, like shelters and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Because, like, they won't let you... If you get caught with that, you get kicked out. Mm-hmm. So it's just better to try to make a living out here?
Yeah, until you're ready to take that step into getting yourself together and getting clean off, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
What's
It's better to maintain yourself out here on drugs than it is inside a facility or a shelter. Because what you're going to do is, if you know you're still going to get high, why take it and go in there and then get kicked out and then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Redo it all over again.
Because you got all this stuff,
yeah,
and you're relatively comfortable, and if you go into a shelter, you lose it all,
yeah,
and then you get kicked right back out. I've had a lot of people tell me they're just not ready for that step, or they're not ready to make the decision. What do you think holds people back from going to a facility to get cleaned up?
change.
Just the fear of change?
I think sometimes, yeah, change plays a big part in people's...
Just, like, because you're, I mean, you've been doing this for 6 years, since you were 22. And you've gotten yourself into, like, a routine, and you kind of know what's comfortable, mm-hmm, and you just don't want to give that up for something that you don't understand what's coming. Is that it? Is it fear?
Could be, yeah, possibly.
Are they like at Jordan's Crossing and stuff? Do they offer to get you into like a rehab facility, or through Mount Carmel?
They said they would help us get into one whenever we was ready, and
just no pressure. Just like, hey, do you think if you walked over today and said I'm ready right now, they could get you someplace?
Oh yeah, Mr. Fred, the guy, the owner, he would pick up the phone right then and there.
Really? Do you think there's plenty of beds available?
I would hope so.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to keep you much longer. I know this is kind of an odd conversation. What do you think the solution would be? Do you think there is a solution?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I don't know. That's a big question.
Well, I mean, because there's a lot of people out there that think that this will fix this, that, you know. I mean, we hear a lot about fixing the homeless crisis and fixing drug addiction, and then they'll say, well, we need to stop sending money to Ukraine because there's people homeless. Do you think if somebody came down with $100 million and put all you guys in apartments, think that would fix it?
I mean, for me that would, but I can't speak for somebody else, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I would be happy with a place. Like I said, we've been waiting to get in somewhere, but...
What if it came with rules that you can't use?
I mean, that would be fine.
Do you think you could do it? How you doing, man?
It would take time.
Yeah. Because I've heard that they've done that in some communities, like around San Francisco and stuff, and that the housing sits empty. Hey, man, I'm Ben. Okay. Yeah, you think there's places around here that do that?
No, I mean, I've heard that there's a lot of places around here. They say we're all homeless and there's no houses available and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's fucking 40 houses within a 3-block place. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? They're just sitting there empty with vacant signs. You could go in there, live, turn your water, everything on. But they make a big deal out of it when you do, and you get in trouble for squatting.
Yeah.
And stuff,
well, I mean,
I understand that. I mean,
you gotta understand that somebody does own that house.
Yeah, I get that, but.
Yeah.
But then you got some people that can go in and squat, and then they end up owning the house. You know what I mean? Because of somebody else's.
Well.
I don't
know if I've ever seen that. I think eventually the owner can come and remove anybody from the house, even if it's a bank. It's just sometimes these banks, they're not really aware of what's actually happening at their properties, and it takes decades
for them to even,
to even know that something's going on. Yeah.
That's long.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just one of the things that I like to ask people. And the other question was, what if all these drugs were legal? Do you think it'd be a good idea, or do you think it'd be a bad idea to legalize these drugs?
I think it'd be a bad idea.
Yeah. You think more people would kind of fall into the world?
Yeah, especially kids.
Yeah. I mean, and it's like, I think my personal belief is that people who have never done it, knowing that it's a felony, might prevent them from starting it. But once you're doing it, it doesn't matter.
It really don't matter.
Do people ever get any time for like possession?
I'm sure they do.
You know anyone?
I mean, not particularly.
Yeah.
I have heard of somebody getting time for I mean, a lot of the cops now is so like an everyday thing. They just find needles or shit on them. Sometimes they don't even charge you with them. They just throw them away and then, you know what I mean? Whatever. We're not gonna charge you with this. You got enough, you know, problems. But
yeah.
Which that's cool because who wants to get charged with a fucking loaded needle or whatever?
Well, and you're not gonna solve anything by charging homeless people with a misdemeanor. I don't know. What do you think could have prevented you from getting in this situation? I mean, you started when you were really young. You think if you hadn't started when you were young, you would have maybe had a job when your mom died and would have been able to get rent? And did the drugs keep you from working?
Yeah.
Like a regular job?
You want to get high, or you're too busy wanting to make sure you got your wake up, or you know, your next.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate you taking some time to talk to me. I'm gonna put this out on YouTube.
Hopefully somebody hears it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I like to share this information with people that think they know what's going on. So, what was your name, hon?
Sabrina.
Sabrina. It's nice to meet you.
Thank you.